Hey guys, welcome back. This is Llama at Llama Paints Minis, and I've made some videos recently covering the Velvet acrylic inks from Kimera. There's a whole wide variety of them. You can check them out on Dracoya.com. But one question I was asked is, well, yes, we've seen these work like a contrast paint, a speed paint, AK 3rd Gen, so on. We've also seen them work like an ink, like an acrylic ink or an India ink. But if that's all they are, I mean, what do they really bring to the table? That's nothing new. I already have a whole bunch of paints that I can do with slap chop and create washes from and spray them through an airbrush. What do these bring? So I've got this model here, this beautiful Maggotkin of Nurgle hero or anti-hero, whichever you want to call him, Mulgoth the Cleaver. I've got a basic zenithal prime on him of dark gray and light gray. But I'm going to get ready to paint him just like I would with regular acrylic paint. So no slap chop techniques here. I'm not going to slather on a wash and then try to pick out highlights later. So I've just grabbed an array of sort of greens and ochres, and then just like we would do with our base acrylic paints when they are pure pigment, I've got a cold yellow and a white, because that's how we'll go up the steps, so to speak. We'll climb the ladder of highlights. Oh, and this isn't a white acrylic paint. This is the white velvet. So, but you'll see that it works very much the same. And so just like I would do if I were painting with regular acrylic paints, I'm going to do a value sketch. Now, value, of course, is that relationship between dark and light. And so I'm going to sketch in the dark areas first, and then sketch in the light areas, and then go back and forth until I'm happy. You can see I loaded the bristles up in a way where the paint is very thin but very evenly distributed through the bristles, maintaining the sharp point. There's no thick globs of paint on there. But this is very pigment rich. Let me say again, these velvets are very pigment dense, so potent color. So by having it thin on there, I can kind of make sure that I'm not applying it heavily, and I don't want this to behave like a wash or a contrast paint. Right now I want it to behave like a standard hobby acrylic paint. So you can see I'm just sort of drawing or sketching in the areas that will be in shadow. And now I'm going to take this green gold color from the gold leaf set and do my plane of light. So the area that will be in the light, so to speak. But you can see as I draw it across my thumb there, it looks just kind of like a standard acrylic paint. It's not just settling in the recesses, it's not breaking across the skin, it's just a smooth stroke. And that's one thing that really fits the namesake, Velvet. These move across the surface very smooth, but they stay put. So where I was putting the paint, it was staying, and then because of the transparent nature of ink, it was kind of blending itself to the layer underneath, and I was able to just move on. I mean, I was able to move so quickly, and you'll see here as I do his armor and then eventually his skin, that I kind of get a really cool, like, non-metallic metal gross green for the armor, which is what I'm going for here. I mean, he's Nurgle, you gotta kind of do that, right? And then I give him a very bloated flesh that's bruised and all sorts of grossness, but you'll see at the end how vibrant it is, and really how easy it was to achieve. So now I'm just kind of correcting the lines. I made a sort of in between my light and dark, just like you would with regular paint, and I'm just correcting it here on his helmet. And I'm being a little bit finicky, and yet, you know, we've only been painting here for like 3 or 4 minutes, and the helmet already looks sort of like non-metallic metal. Figured I'd zoom in there. He's got a pretty good looking mug, but he is very small. Yeah, you can see the brush there. I'm using this size 0 taper head arrowhead brush. It's a Kolinsky table brush by Kimera. I've really grown to like it because you can do your broad stroke, big base coat stuff, and then you can turn it sideways and get really precise detail. Anyway, I'm not doing much here. You're seeing me spend quite a bit of time on the helmet, and that was really because I was trying this out for the first time. I was treating them like regular paint and seeing how they'd perform, and I couldn't believe it. They just kept doing exactly what I would want acrylic paint to do. And so now I move on to this great big chest plate or breastplate or whatever it is. I mean, I guess with Nurgle, you never know. He's just sort of got a big pear-shaped blob in the front of him and this thing's over the top of it. Sort of reminds me of that, like, cast iron oven door that Marty McFly put under his cloak in, was it Back to the Future 3? Right before he gets shot? That's what it looks like all these Nurgle guys wear. But yeah, you can see already I've got a good gradient on those armor plates, and I've just really used the two colors. And I didn't do a slap chop method. I didn't coat it over the Zenithal Prime. I just painted it like it was a regular. I didn't take advantage of the Zenithal Prime, I should say, like you would with a contrast paint. I just used it like a standard acrylic paint. And so now I'm just taking a slightly lighter color and stippling, just like I would to create with regular paint to create some texture. Because if you see his armor up close, it's pretty rotted away. There's holes in it, there's rust. But yeah, I couldn't believe that I could use them just like regular. Here you can see kind of that, once that dried, what that looked like. I was really pleased. And now I'm going to take a more vibrant sort of, it's called acid green, but it reminds me of the old 90s Goblin Green from Games Workshop. Anyone remember that? That you'd rim your bases with? Or like Moot Green, which came out later. Well, that's really what it looks like. And so I was able to kind of inject some of that really powerful bright highlighter green in some spots, especially if I wanted to create the illusion of non-metallic metal. And you can see I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm not being super precise. I'm really just kind of letting the paint do the work off the end of a good brush. Again, putting those stipples and scratches and all sorts of noisy things in for texture. And really, I couldn't have been happier with how this went. Just treating these like regular acrylic paint. And now you see me just stepping up the highlights like I would with regular paint, right? We use our cold yellow for a little bit of warmth and luminosity, and we add our white to change the value. And now you can see just how bright that is, and it's still coating my thumb like a layer paint. So, again, when I've been asked, what else do these really bring to the table? If they just do what a contrast paint does, or an express paint, or a speed paint, or a quick gen, we already have those. The market's saturated with those. What do these bring? That's a valid question. But we already know these are a little more pigment dense than that, right? And if these were just like any other ink, again, we have those. You've got them from artist companies. You got them from AK. So what would this bring? If that's all they did, really not much. But you get kind of the best of both of those, and you can even replace a lot of your standard acrylic paints with these. In fact, the more I use them, even in just this project, the easier it became to do all the things I would normally have to spend hours and hours doing with regular paint. Now, you're not missing anything here as in my brilliance, I moved him just a little too far to the south of the picture and the camera would come out of focus. But there I'm just sort of glazing a mid-tone back over it all to harmonize it. But again, turning these into a glaze is super easy. And now you can see that armor looks all scratched up. So here I'm going to take two colors, a royal brown, which is a reddish brown, and this flame orange from the hot and cold set. And I'm just going to do the same thing you would do with an effects paint to create rust. Only with this, it's super easy. You can see I'm thinning it down there. And again, I'm just thinning it on the palette itself. I didn't add paint thinner or water or anything to it right now. Just the damp brush and stretch it out on the palette. Load it very lightly in the bristles. So you can see it's very thin, like a glaze consistency. And now I'll just pick some areas that I want some rust and some weathering. Glaze it into the bottom, and of course a reddish brown is going to be a very nice contrast to a yellowy green. And then I'm just going to do some streaks. pick some of the crevices and just draw it straight down. There's just material oozing and running down the armor. He's nurgly, you gotta give him that kind of flavor, right? And see, it almost streaked just like you could do with like an oil paint. Only this dried in seconds. And again, not much precision there, but the transparent nature kind of allows it to blend in on its own. And then I'll do the same. I'll grab this this very hot orange. In fact, with 3 hot colors on the hot and cold velvet set, borderline on fluoro with how bright they are. They don't quite do what a fluoro does, but I could see how you could replace those effects if you don't have a fluoro handy. And I'm just going to dot the orange in some spots, create some rust, which of course, complementary color to what else I've used. So it will stand out really nice, but not look unnatural. So I've replaced essentially most of the things I would have on my desk with just the velvets. And you're going to see here in a little bit, I'm going to do the same thing with the skin. And by the way, total paint time for that was like 15-20 minutes. And you're going to see me do a little bit with the skin here in a bit. But in my brilliance, I sort of held him out of focus. So I didn't get as much as I would like. I just mixed this color called Dark Ocean, which is a dark blue-green, the magenta, and then went up the line through the yellow and white to make those various skin tones. Same thing, I'm going to do a value sketch. I'm going to sketch in the dark, then sketch in the light, and then meet them in the middle. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I actually really enjoy painting skin tones, or at least humanoid skin tones. It's one of my favorite things to do. I enjoy it, I never get sick of it. I have a whole host of models of my own and those that belong to my friends, where they seriously just have like a face and a shoulder painted because I offered to do it, because I love to do it so much. And with these velvets, it actually was super easy. You'll see I'm not even being neat here. I'm just kind of slopping on the darker paint, which there was a mixture of Dark Ocean and magenta. And it made this very rich violet. And then I just kind of go up through the pinks and oranges and peachy colors that I made. And now I do the light sketch. I'm just moving out of the frame there to the south, which was unfortunate. But yeah, there you can see. And again, because it's transparent, where the light sketch went over the dark, it just sort of blends on its own. And then I kind of go back and forth until I'm happy with where the dark meets the light. And you could push this farther. Like, you could create all sorts of effects on him, right? He's for Nurgle, so you could have jaundice, you could have bruising, you could have sores. But again, you can do it the same way that you could do with any of your acrylic paints. In fact, I've gained such confidence with it that I'm going to paint the entirety of this model using only the velvets and nothing else. Because there's really, the only thing I found that they cannot do is true metallic metal. You'll still need true metallic metal paints to do true metallic metal. They just don't make that in the velvets, right? But yeah, I hope this was useful to you. If you'd like to see more, let me know. The pictures for this guide up to this point, the progress point, are on my Instagram at Llama Paints Minis. And of course, you can head on over to Dracoya.com and you can use my name, my code, Llama10, to save 10% on any purchases made there. And we will have these very velvets available at the booth at Adepticon. So I hope to see you there. I hope you watch me paint, and I hope you learn to use these for any project. Till next time, paint brave.